Okay, so I thought, instead of just giving a talk, which, I know we don't have that much time, they said 10 to 15 minutes. I thought instead of giving a talk, I think it would just be more interesting to kind of have an interactive session with you guys and kind of inspire you to think a little bit about what you do and how you can make an impact, and what your kind of real purpose, or why we're all here, what's our life's calling, and what do we want to be doing more of. So I'm going to pull up a couple slides, just 1 second so I can share screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
We see it, Mira.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. So obviously, you know who I am. I just introduced myself in the previous session. So my first question, and I would love for you guys to input it into the chat. My first question to all of you, and I'd love to see as many answers as possible come into the chat. What does the world need? So what does the world need? What do you feel that the world needs more of? Or what does the world need? So if you can just answer that question in the chat, that would be great. Great. I see a lot of things coming in: more kindness, more humanity, more compassion, more empathy, more civility. Oh, more healing, more love and care, more peace, advocates for women and children to be safe, more tolerance and respect, more peace, more good people, love, inclusivity, equality, empathy, conversations like today, more women in lawmaking. Oh, somebody said, what was the question? What does the world need? What does the world need more of, or what does the world need? Understanding, everything is connected, more enlightened people, action. Great, so many things in here. So now I would love for you to think. So here's my second question to you, is I would love for you to think about what you are uniquely qualified to deliver. What are your talents that only you have that you can offer the world? What are you uniquely qualified to deliver? And if you could put that into the chat. So already a few are coming in: more tolerance, accepting others, educating young children in creativity is what somebody can offer. I can adapt, I can teach mathematics, freedom and creativity, understanding and tolerance, compassion, empathy and understanding, mentorship as a teacher, encouraging women in agriculture, accepting others, understanding several points of views and combining them. My voice, perfect, amazing. Leadership, experiencing local communities, real lives on the ground, universal worldview, telling engaging stories through graphic narratives, mentoring and empowering others, teaching, cross-cultural understanding, ability to write clearly in a way that reaches hearts, perfect, amazing. Promoting mental health, helping people change their behavior in education and healthcare, loving my children, of course, that's a huge talent, raising children that are going to create change, empowering disadvantaged groups. These are all amazing things. So here is the kind of the thing that I want you to get out of this point. So your purpose here, why you're here, why you exist, is basically your life's purpose is to find that intersection of what the world needs and what you're uniquely qualified to deliver. Like, that is living in your purpose to do something in the world that will make you feel so expansive and so inspired on a daily basis. So if you think about, there's somebody, maybe I'll call out somebody. Let me see. Yara Saruh. If you you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, I'll just use you as an example.
Hi.
Hi, Yara. So can you tell us what you said the world needs? And then can you tell us what you said that you're uniquely qualified to deliver?
Okay. I said I didn't mention what the words need, but I thought that it need more woman justice, and what I can deliver is empowering women in agriculture.
Amazing. So if you think about the intersection of those things, maybe where you should be working is the intersection of justice in agriculture, in empowering women in agriculture and in justice. So what's the intersection of those two things? That's your kind of sweet spot of where you should be working in. And, I'm sure you know more than anybody, since you kind of pointed that out, that you want to encourage women in agriculture. You probably see the opportunity for women to influence agriculture, to actually influence that whole industry and to actually make progress in that industry. Do you not? Is that not what you're kind of, isn't that not why you kind of shared what you're uniquely qualified to deliver?
Yes, exactly. I'm actually a senior agriculture student at AUB, and so thinking about my master is something that I want to do about gender, women, maybe law. I'm not sure yet, but I know I'm on the right track. So yeah.
Great, fantastic. Yeah, so just stay focused on these two things and figure out, on your journey, just constantly ask yourself, what does the world need and what am I uniquely qualified to deliver? And that intersection will lead you to your life's purpose and what you should be doing every day. So that's kind of the first thing I wanted to bring up and talk to you guys about. The second thing is I wanted everybody to think a little bit about their values. What are your unshakable values that you stand for? What are things that you absolutely will not budge on, that you will hold true, that are so important to you, and that you feel like you want to build your whole life with these values? What are some of those values? Love, 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 unconditional love, kindness, compassion. There's a theme. We're kind of this is a very like-minded group of people. Equality, honesty, amazing. Treating everyone with respect. Respecting human dignity, self-worth, integrity. Honesty, integrity, amazing. Justice, equal opportunity, access to basic needs, yes. Civilian protection, yeah, oh my God, especially nowadays, right? A deep understanding of others, no matter what background, absolutely. Seeing more than one side of the problem, oh my God, yes. Tolerance, honesty, love, respect, responsibility, integrity, peace, tolerance. Yes, those are the things that you're absolutely, you will not budge on. Those are the things that you believe in, and those are the things that you want more of in the world. And any kind of deviation to that feels like this is not like true to who you are. So now I want you to think about, what life do you want? So this is kind of an interesting one, because so many people, especially, when you're in college and you're kind of trying to figure out what you're doing, or even in high school, you fixate so much on the job that you want, right? Like, oh, I want to do this for a living, but you don't really think about the life you want. You don't really dream of the life you want. So, I want you to just take a few seconds just to think about, when you think about a life that you want, what is that? So don't give me like a career or a job. Give me the life that you aspire for. What kind of life? What does it have? What is it like? A very peaceful life, a fulfilling life, a life of peace, no conflict, safe for my kids, future grandkids, opportunities for continuous learning, empowering others, clean environment, no air pollution, life of service, yes, a life of joy, no matter the circumstances, financial stability, peaceful, continuous learning, having positive impact on my communities, inspire and motivate women all over the world, have my voice reach millions of people, having positive impact on communities. These are amazing, you guys. Exploring everything through the world has to offer through travel and adventure, empowering mindset, mindfulness, healthy lifestyle, meaningful life, leaving a positive impact. Amazing. So what you need to do is actually try to think about the intersection of your values and the life you want, make you feel that you're living your life in alignment to who you kind of aspire to be in the world. So one thing that I've found that I've run across in my journey and in my lifetime is sometimes you end up doing something that you're good at and you kind of follow that path. And I know I've kind of been through this journey myself, where you follow a journey because you're good at it. And then you get to a point where in that journey, you realize that you have almost like two separate lives. At least I did. And I don't know if other people feel that way too. But I felt that I had two separate lives. I had my work life, and then I had my life, my real life. And those two things were actually two different things. They were actually like two completely different lives. And I kind of had a little bit of an existential crisis because I felt that I was not living in alignment with who I really was. So I wasn't being able to bring who I really was in the world into my work life. And then I wasn't really being able to bring my work life into, these two lives kind of lived very separately. And the reality is we can't separate life and work. You can't just like press a button and suddenly you're in work or suddenly you're in life. It's all one, right? Life is work and work is life. So our life's work is how to bring those closer together, right? How do you come closer and closer and closer to doing something in your life that actually feels in alignment to who you are as a person and what you believe in and what you stand for? And that's really when you're going to feel like completely in alignment with what you're here to do. If you can bring your purpose in alignment to your life, then suddenly you've actually, really feel like you're kind of on earth to do what you're supposed to be doing. And you don't have the existential crisis that I went through where I'm like, what am I doing here? And then this is who I am here. And those two things couldn't exist. They were actually very much in opposition to each other. So that I would love if anybody has any questions here before I go to my next thing. I would love if anybody has any questions on my kind of the first slide or the second slide to kind of bring them up. And I'm happy to answer just, they could be closely related or they could be a little bit further related. And I'm happy to answer any of those questions. So we could just pause for a second and I'm happy to answer any questions. And, obviously you can maybe lift your hand might be the easiest way to do it. And then you can unmute yourself. I could call out your name and you could unmute yourself. Whoops. So there's a little thing that says reactions and you can kind of lift your hand and ask to be.
Okay, I see.
So Rihanna,
I see a few names, so
Rishan.
I will call them out in the order.
Oh yeah, please.
I
You
see
go
them.
ahead.
So go ahead. I just unmuted Malak.
Okay, go ahead.
Malak Itani, go ahead if you would like.
How does age work in aligning those two things together? Is older people do they still have time to do that?
You know what? I think you totally have time. You have time. You have time to do this. Absolutely. I think some of the people that inspired me the most are people who are older and not kind of do that work later in life, because it's one of those things that inspires me so much because it makes me think that it's just never too late. It's just never too late to kind of do that kind of work and find whatever it is, because I honestly feel like part of this work is also getting us closer to freedom, getting us closer to feel like we have ease in our bodies, in our lives, to really just like settle into that thing that inspires us so much. And, what could be more powerful or more inspiring than feeling that you have that freedom and ease later in life, where you kind of, at the end of it all, you leave this planet, in that ease, in that feeling that you did that thing that you've always wanted to do. Even if that only happened for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, who cares? At least you get there. It doesn't matter. I don't actually consider myself an early bloomer at all. I consider myself very much a late bloomer. I did not get married at 22, and I did not, kind of start a company until my 30s. And I didn't, so I actually feel like it's that idea that you have to reach a certain goal by a certain age, and you have to be accomplished in a certain way by a certain age. All that's nonsense. It's all nonsense. We each have our own journey, and we each have our own timeline, and this is not a competition. And there's nothing more inspiring than seeing somebody kind of find that later in life.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mira. The next question I have is from Rihanna. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. Rishani.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, so actually someone asked in the chat something related to the question. It's a very broad question, so okay, wait, I'm just gonna go ahead and ask. So you said, well, I mean, you're a graphic designer, and that really resonated because I'm a graphic designer first year in AUB. And I was wondering, you said your work life and your life were particularly combined. And I was wondering, because I feel like this major is something where it's something where things in life are very applicable to the work life. So I was wondering how are they, not particularly how were they separated, but yeah, what was the trigger, as someone just asked, how were they combined type?
So if I'm hearing your question correctly, you want to know how are they separated, and then now how are they combined?
Yeah.
Okay, so I started out in design, and then I did my master's degree in communication, and that led me to doing advertising at Wieden & Kennedy on Nike. So when I was there for 10 years, and throughout that whole process, I basically was doing these incredible campaigns working on Nike, but I was also working 80-hour weeks every single weekend, traveling constantly, and doing stuff at an extreme and at a level where it was kind of burning me out, and it was actually ruining a lot of things in my life. So, in order to have to work at that place, I had to work in a way that felt very unsustainable for everything else that I wanted in my life. And that's why, I said, what kind of life do you want? Not just what kind of job do you want? Because you have to think about all these other things. You want to have dinners with friends, and you want to have maybe a life partner, and you want to be able to go for a hike in nature, and you want to be able to have all these other things in your life that you value. And your life is not just your job. And I think that's why sometimes we think that our lives are like our jobs, and we get kind of fixated on that. And your life is so much more than your job. Your life is the friends that you nurture and that you surround yourself with, and the all these rich experiences that surround your job. It's not just about your job. So for me, I had reached a point where I felt like who I was there to be able to perform at that level, and in that kind of very high stress kind of, it's just never enough. You could never work enough, and that kind of actually very, very masculine way of doing things. There's just there was never enough time you could put into your work. And there was this pride in kind of overworking and working to death, that I just got to a point where I just felt, you know what? There has to be a more sustainable way of doing things. I know I'm great at what I do. I know how to do it really well, but I feel there's a lot of things in the way I'm working, because the system was set up by a certain person for a certain person. There's a reason why there's a whole show called Mad Men. It was created by men for men. And it just had, the system was designed for one type of person. And it was not designed for everybody. It was definitely not designed for women. It was not designed for underrepresented people. It was not designed for people who wanted more out of their life. So for me, it was like, there's got to be a way to have these two things coexist. It doesn't, like, I thought it was completely crazy that in order to be successful, I had to sacrifice all these other things that I really, really wanted in life, like a partner and potentially kids one day, and, you know, life and family and all these things that are so important, right? They're just so important to having like a happy, content life. So I left not knowing what I wanted to do. All I knew is I wanted to be more in alignment, and I wanted to actually find a way to make what I knew I was good at, and then I knew the life that I wanted, and I wanted to find a way to merge those two. And I didn't know what the answer was, to be honest, when I started or when I kind of left that place. I knew I wanted to work on conceptual art projects. That was kind of a passion of mine. So that I knew that I wanted to do. And then through that process of working on art, I realized that I needed money to pay for my art because, you know, art needs money. And then through that process, I started getting freelance projects. So through those freelance projects, I started, you know, working for agencies, freelancing for agencies, and then I started freelancing directly with clients. And then suddenly clients wanted me to do more and more of the things that I wanted to do more of. So I really wanted to create more meaningful work that had a larger impact on society. I didn't just want to do another Coca-Cola ad, which, you know, when I grew up in this industry, you do everything, right? You do everything that you're put on, everything that you're assigned. There was some things that my heart just wasn't into it anymore. So it was like, how do I find the place, or how do I create the place? Like I literally birthed the place where I can do more. I could take these talents that I have and I can do more of the things that I want to be doing, where I want to be spending my energy and time. And somebody once actually gave me an amazing piece of advice, to think of energy like we do of money, and that we have a finite amount of it. And it's like a, you know, every morning you wake up and you have X amount of energy. Where do you want to spend that energy? You know, what is valuable enough to you to spend that energy on? And it's a finite resource that you have, and really thinking really thoughtfully about where you want to spend that time. So now my constant practice is, how do I say yes to the things that I want to be working on, and potentially say no to the things I don't want to be working on. And it's a constant practice. You know, obviously sometimes you just need to, you do things because you need to pay your bills and you need to make money, and that's the way life works, right? But if you can do more of the stuff that kind of make you feel more in alignment to your purpose, then you're just slowly just shifting the direction of the boat. You know, if the boat's like going down a canal, you're just constantly readjusting and kind of going more and more and more, and doing more and more of the things that inspire you, and less of the things that don't inspire you. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you so much. That really like instilled hope in me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mira, for these comprehensive answers. Maya Abu Khazam asked a question in the chat, I guess kind of similar. I don't know if Maya, you would like Mira to expand more, or if you want to ask something else, or move on to Sabine Zahreddin.
Yeah, what's the question? Sorry.
This question in the chat was, what was the trigger for a turning point for you to combine your purpose with your actual life? So there was kind of addressed it.
I kind of alluded to it. So there was many.
Yeah, because I think Rihanna saw it as well and said it out loud.
Yeah, so there was many triggers, but I'd say the biggest one was actually seeing that my male partner made twice as much as me. So that was kind of the big one for me. So I just thought, you know, I needed a sign from the universe, and that was the sign. And I was like, okay, see you later.
Thank you, Mira. I had a hand raised by Sabine Zahreddin. Would you like to unmute yourself? I will ask to unmute you.
Hello.
Hi.
I have a question. I love being a psychologist. I love helping people so much, but there's many people telling me like, don't do it. That's not the right thing for you. And many thing else like, but I'm still don't know if I'll listen to them. I'll do the thing that I want. Like that. Did you understand my point?
Yep, perfect. So my answer to that is this. I have come to realize that I only listen to the people that I admire, and I listen to their opinions. If there's somebody that I admire, I listen to their opinion, and everybody else, I just do this. And that has to do with everything in my life, my work life, my parenting life, my everything life. Like, you need to only listen to people who you admire, and then do not listen to anybody else, because 7 million people will tell you, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it. The reasons why this is not the right thing, but you have to, and this is another one of my big practices, learning and teaching yourself to listen to that inner voice and to your body and to that instinct that you have inside your body, and learning to align with that, and learning to like pick up on those little signs. So if this is something, and this is like a little, it's not really a secret, but it's kind of something that I use for my life. And I've been really using it in the past year to kind of judge things and to make decisions in my life. When you're doing something, whatever it is, so whether you're picking something like psychology that you want to do for a living, or whether you're literally making the smallest task, I've been asking myself, does this make my body and my heart expand, or does this make my body and my heart contract? And if it makes my heart and my body expand, that means it's the right thing for me. And if it makes it contract, that means it's actually not the right thing for me. And that's actually worked really well for me, to make me feel like I'm constantly doing things that bring me back into alignment, and not make me do something that feels like I'm doing something just to please others, or I'm doing something just because somebody else told me to, or somebody else thinks it's the right thing for me. Deep down inside, we all know what is right for us. We do. If you just quiet down a little bit, all that like external noise, and you like really look inward, you know what that thing is. And it's just learning to trust that voice, and learning to trust that instinct that you have. And if that's what you love, do that. Like, don't listen to people. Don't listen to all these people that give you a million reasons why you shouldn't do it. What are you going to do? You're going to do something that they want you to do. You're going to live your life according to other people's rules and dreams of what you should do for a living. You need to trust yourself and listen to the things that make your heart expand, and make your body expand, and make you feel that you're just moving through life in a way that brings you joy. I think that's really the practice here. Like, how do we move through life and fill our lives with things that make us feel expansive, right? Because God knows, right? Like, so much of our lives in so many ways actually want us to contract. They don't, all these things, there's so much I can think of that are like kind of shitty situations, and, things that are way beyond our control, things that we cannot control. And those are the things that, you just have to learn to like go inwards and influence the things that you can control. Like, I can control my actions. I can control what I do today, but I can't control what's going on in the government, for example, right? Like, how do you kind of constantly go back to that inner knowing that kind of leads you on this path to do what you are inspired to do?
Mira, this is so inspiring, really. Thank you for your very passionate and motivational responses. We have many questions now lining up, but I just also want to recognize a comment. Brigitte Khouri said, we need so many psychologists in Lebanon, and if your heart is in it, you will succeed at it, especially now that the profession is more organized and recognized in Lebanon. And I'll just like add a comment for me as well, is definitely, I think the Arab world was behind on mental health, on taking it more seriously and more in a professional matter, and it's definitely advancing in Lebanon very well. So very nice to hear that. So we'll have Lara next, Lara Al-Dandashi, and then we have Lina, And then we have Rada, Christophe, and then Shireen Randour. So keep using the raise hand function for anyone else that wants to speak. So go ahead, Lara, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Sure. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, well, thank you so much for this wonderful feedback and the talk. And Mira, it's a pleasure to meet you and all the women on this platform, the wonderful women. So I answered all your questions. So the link, this thing is, I mean, I work in medical institution and research, and I love what I do, but I know I can. So how do you, when you are happy where you are, the question is, how can you evolve more from where you are to make a bigger impact? It's not because I want to leave something behind and go into something else. It's more, how can you evolve and progress where from the point you are and leave an impact on a larger scale?
I think for me, it's all about constantly feeling where I can stretch, you know, like I'm constantly pushing myself in different ways. And I think it's only becoming worse as I get older. I'm just constantly making myself uncomfortable in these different ways in my life to kind of push myself into territories and into things that I don't know enough about, or I'm curious about, or I want to learn more of. And I think that's how you start to make more of an impact, because you start, you know, pushing in these different ways that make you uncomfortable, and those things kind of end up infiltrating your life and making what you do even more impactful. So that's how I would recommend. Like I've been, just this past year, I've taken so many different trainings and workshops and things that are just constantly pushing me in new ways. And all those things just constantly inspire me for things that I could be doing. Like actually my husband, we have this joke where we're constantly coming up with ideas of things we want to do. And we have a joke, we always say, put it on the list, because we have this running list of ideas of things we want to be doing in life. And I feel like maybe we might need a couple lifetimes to do them, but it's just like, and a lot of them don't even have to do with work, right? Like a lot of them are just things and aspirations. And like right now, I'm about, in a few weeks, I'm about to start a trauma course that I've signed up with. That has nothing to do with what I do for a living, but it's such a fascinating topic for me. And I want to learn more about that. And I feel, just as Lebanese, as a Palestinian, you know, there's just so much trauma that we've grown up with and that we have collectively as a culture that we often don't talk about. And I've been trying to unpack a lot of that and what that means in our lives. And I've just been super curious about that. So I signed up for a whole training around it, just to pile more things on my plate, but I'm just genuinely super interested in it. So that's how you start bringing in things that like push you out of your comfort zone and help you create more impact in what you're currently doing, but also inspire you to potentially do even more beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Next we have Lina Reibe. If you'd like to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, Mira. So incredibly good to see you and to hear you. So proud of you. So incredibly inspired by you. I don't know where to start, but I would like to say the energy thing was amazing, resonated so much with me, but I don't understand it because your energy is boundless. So I don't think you have finite energy. Your energy is infinite. Also, the thing about being so excited about life, I think that's a key thing. And you have that, like taking on these new things, theater, unpacking. I mean, that comes because of this love of life. But yeah, where do we fit it in our life? Okay, now I'll ask my question. During your time actually in advertising, you didn't shy away from really addressing women empowerment. I don't like the term very much today, but with your incredible work even with Nike and I Feel Pretty. So I'm wondering, just how did that I know you had already started this thing, the marriage of the two things that you love so much was there really early on, even in your very commercial work. But how did this continue in your studio, in your own studio? How are you still addressing those different issues through your work?
Yeah, so I gave the example on the larger workshop, you know, when we work with Google, you know, taking on a project where you're actually changing the pipeline for girls in technology, right? Like taking on projects like that, where it was like such a daunting task to take on that project because we wanted to create a whole program. Like, you know, I had just started the company, and within 3 weeks we had Google, you know, with this project. And you know, we had to create software, we had to create coding projects that we based on a curriculum to teach girls to code. And I had like 2 programmers and we needed like 10 programmers. And I was like, I don't even know where to find these people. Like, I don't even know, you know, and just like not wanting to say no because I knew what a big impact we can have, and just taking it on and then figuring it out. And you know, Google holds you to these crazy standards to create software for them, and just saying yes and then figuring out how we're going to make it happen. And of course, one of the key things to that is also surrounding yourself with amazing people, because I'm not doing this on my own. It's like bringing all these talented brains together. You kind of solve the problems all together. But going back to your question, it's like, I'm so passionate about, you know, I think there's a reason why the universe sent me 3 girls. I'm so passionate about empowering women and girls. And, you know, I don't know if it's like in my DNA, because I have so many women that I really grew up looking up to in my family. But it's just, I feel part of my life's work is to empower women and to champion women and, you know, do all that kind of work. So any opportunity I get, of course. And I'd say women and underrepresented people, you know, so not just women, anybody who I feel is on the fringes of society, you know, that is not kind of the majority of society and that has not had opportunity. I do a huge effort to give opportunity to, like on our Netflix work, we hired a Black director to direct the work. And we had David Fincher, who's like one of the most famous directors, wanting to direct that work. And we said no, because he's a white male man. And we gave an opportunity to a Black director who only had 1 previous experience directing commercials. And, you know, obviously it was a leap of faith and, you know, considered risky, but we felt if we don't give opportunity, it's like a vicious cycle. If we don't give opportunity, the person's not going to get the experience to get more opportunity. And it's this vicious cycle. And you're just perpetuating that by going with what's safe or what's like the norm or what's, you know, been the default. You know, yes, we can hire David Fincher and he could be like amazing. And, you know, we can have a home run with this piece of work and know that it's going to be super popular and famous and be talked about. But then how do you go, no, our work is to actually open up more doors, right? So we hired a Black director, we hired a female-founded production company, we hired a female-founded music company, we hired a female-founded sound company. Like, let's empower the people who have not been given opportunities and create work that is at that same high caliber level, but then, you know, do it with people who have been historically either oppressed, underrepresented, or not been given the work. So even if the work itself doesn't champion women and girls or underrepresented people, the way you create the work can. And you give opportunity and you give money, right? You're actually empowering them. You're paying people who basically have notoriously been underpaid or not paid, et cetera. So.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And a big salute to your beautiful 3 women.
Thank you.
So wonderful. Thank you, Mira. I think that speaks so much as well to the point of providing people maybe oppressed or previously disempowered people with opportunity rather than, you know, a gift or a, you know, aid or something like that. So I think that's really powerful. Our next question is from Rada Christofait, if you want, and then we have Shri Randur. So I'm going to ask to unmute you if you would like to go ahead. Sorry, Rada, you're still muted. I don't know if you still want to ask a question. If so, unmute yourself. If not, we'll move on. Let's see. Okay, Shireen, I see you there. Do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hi, thank you so much, Mira. I love what you're saying. Whatever you're saying totally resonates with me. The whole corporate world and the background and finding your passion versus this corporate world we live in. I live in New York, so I totally get the masculine energy too. My question to you is, you said you surround yourself with people that you aspire or inspire you. So what would be 3 people that you listen to on your podcast or you are a staunch follower of? I'm really curious, because as you uplift us and you share with us what uplifts you, I would be really curious to find out who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been listening a lot to Yves Chouinard, who's the founder of Patagonia. I listen a lot to him because just the way he's built that business and the kind of person he is, the kind of business he's built is very aspirational to me as a person kind of building a business. You know, just the way he's been so unshakable with his values, the way he's really built a company that has grown tremendously over the years, but he never put profit over his people and over the purpose of the company, I think is huge. I love, he has a whole book called Let Your People Go Surfing, and the importance of having a life outside of work, and how much so there's just so many things, you know, he didn't have a business formation or upbringing or education. He learned business by doing business, which is very much me as well. I never took a single business class before I started a business. I've totally learned by doing this thing. And, you know, he taught himself business by doing business. Of course, he's taken tons of classes and courses and workshops and all that throughout his whole life. But I love that he started it because he had a clear vision of what he wanted to do. And then kind of the making money came because of that, and not, you know, that was always like the kind of North Star, and he inspires me a lot. Oh my God, there's so many people, I'm thinking like, what podcast do I listen to? Recently, I've been part of a book club. A person that inspires me a ton is Tammy Lynn Kent. And if you don't know her work, please check out her work. She's tremendously inspiring. She has a book called Wild Feminine that is very, very, very inspiring. And it's basically based on how, as women, we've been basically raised in very masculine worlds. And the feminine has kind of been taken away from us in many, many, many ways. And obviously I could go into that in way more detail, but this is probably not the perfect forum for it. But how do we bring more of that feminine back into our lives, and the importance of that? And she's been a huge inspiration for me over the years. And we actually gave a TED Talk at the same time. So we've become close friends as well since that. Who else?
Sorry, Mira, can I ask, is it Tamile? Is it T-A-M-I-L-E-E web?
T-A-M-I, and then Lynn, L-Y-N-N, and then Kent, K-E-N-T.
So three words, 3 names.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just sending it to everyone so they can follow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure,
and who else? So I listen to a lot of people. You know, there's everything from the business world to the creativity world to you know, things like this, because I have an actual big spiritual practice too. So like Tammy's kind of in that world. As I mentioned before, I'm taking like this trauma course. I've been following a lot of people that are kind of more in the healing space, and how we can actually become like self-healers, you know, heal our own bodies and our own selves, no matter what we go through. So there's a lot of people that I listen to in that space. So it's very eclectic. I don't have like one, you know, it's not like I just do creativity or I just do business. But the trauma course, yeah, it's now closed, but it's if you're on Instagram, it's a person called, I think, Holistic Life Navigation. And it's a guy called Luis that leads that course. He might have it open again for the fall or winter of next year. But he talks a ton about, I think, us as Lebanese too, or Palestinians or Arabs. I think it's really, really kind of important to do that work and learn about doing that work, because it actually makes us realize that we have everything inside of us to actually heal these traumas that we have, you know, from wars to explosions to everything else that has created a huge impact in our lives. So yeah, those are kind of, those are very different spaces, but all of that, and then all of that obviously seeps into life and work, right? Because you can't but let it seep into it. So like even all this work, now we're working on these projects and they have nothing to do with this, but then everything to do with this, because the way you kind of lead the work comes from that place, comes from a place that's more empathetic, or say, infused with more feminine, or infused with more healing, or infused with, all these things that I'm learning about that are such different spaces, but they all kind of, I feel like it's always like a piggy bank, right? Like the piggy bank of wisdom and knowledge. And then it kind of all comes out in different ways in what you do on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mira. Unfortunately, I'm feeling the momentum, and I feel everybody here is as well, but unfortunately we're already over time. So I think we'll have time for just 2 or 3 more questions. I will read one.
Just, can I bring up just this last slide that I have?
Please.
I just wanted to, this is kind of just this is very much in line with my TED Talk. And I wanted to just end this last slide and just say, I don't even know most of the people on this call, but I genuinely believe that everybody has everything they need inside of them to do everything that they want. So, my whole TED Talk was around inspiring people, or inspiring women. It was called How Women Can Change the World by Asking Why Not Me. And I feel like so much research has been done about how as women, we kind of hold back. We hold back on every level. We hold back, our talents. We hold back our creativity, we hold, taking risks, we hold back in so many ways. And I think there's so much reward to be had by taking risks and putting ourselves out there. And it's like a muscle, I know when I left Wyden to go out and venture and kind of do my thing, everybody was like, you're leaving. There's no way you're leaving. There's no way you're leaving. How could you leave? You've been here 10 years. You're going to be a lifer here. What are you going to do? Oh my God, how are you going to make money? What's going to happen? Everybody was more worried almost than I was. And I think, yes, it was scary, tremendously scary, but I think what happens is the more risks you take, the more risks you take. It's a muscle that you train. And now it's like become such a muscle that I just feel so comfortable trying new things and experimenting and seeing what else we could be doing out there, that once you start doing it, you realize how much easier it becomes to do it more and more and more. So, anything that you've ever dreamt of doing, if I believe that you can do it, I hope that you believe that you can do it, because, I've barely met many of you, and I believe that you could do it. So I just wanted to kind of end there, and happy to take these last few questions that have come up.
Incredible. I'm feeling very motivated, inspired. I like that metaphor of the muscle for risks. So I'm just going to read Reem Mansour wrote, I teach kindergarten and elementary classrooms. So how do you think I can use my work to better teach my students about women empowerment and how the girls especially can strive to do anything they want? So inspired by you.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God. As a parent too, I think about this on a daily basis because I have 3 young daughters under the age of 4. So I think about this literally on a daily basis. I feel one of the biggest things that we could teach girls and boys, we can teach them to learn to their inner voice. And I think this is something that we don't learn early enough. And we don't learn just enough in general. There's so much we a lot of times kids are raised to seek external validation for who they are in the world or what they can do in the world. And I think teaching them to kind of look inwards and believe in themselves is such a powerful tool to create all the change that we want in the world. And the more these kids learn to listen to that inner voice and learn to trust that inner voice and not doubt themselves, the more they're going to be equipped to do amazing things, right? But I think it's as we grow older, it's that doubt, it's that voice, it's that inner critic, it's that all that stuff that builds up, where you start thinking that you can't do things, especially as kids, you see it. I think I gave a lecture at AUB once about at 7 years old, at like 4 years old, all the kids are kind of raising their hand in class and they have ideas and they want to, participate and they want to say things. And then at 5, it gets a little less, at 6. And by the time that these girls reach 7 and 8, barely anybody's raising their voice and raising their hand to contribute ideas. So how do you keep that like energy and brilliance and talent alive? And how do you not let society kind of take it away from them, right? Where like, I know a lot of times I know for all people that are very much in the creativity world, you kind of grow up a certain way and then you spend your whole life kind of building that creativity all over again, right? Like that maybe has been taken away from you. So I would start at like, that's why I love meditation tools. I love spiritual tools. I love like all these different countries and places that are using spiritual and meditation practices in the classrooms, getting kids to kind of delay their reaction, listen to their inner voice, kind of be more centered, be more like kind of listen to their kind of just their inner voice and like nurture that, I think is really huge. And how do we do more of that as a society? We'll raise more empathetic and empowered kids, right? Like it's such a, you have such a huge responsibility and beautiful responsibility, beautiful job to be able to affect that and to be able to affect these kids and raise these kids that maybe sometimes don't have any of this at home, right? Like maybe some of these kids maybe have completely abusive homes that they live in. How do you bring some of that into the classroom? I think you can literally change the lives of these kids.